just wanted to talk about guys for a second. Men with eating disorders. Men, boys, blokes, fellas, whatever you want to call them, chaps with eating disorders. Um, it is my belief, and I know that this goes against all the scientific literature and research and things like that, it is my belief that men get eating disorders just as frequently as women do. So I think it's a 50-50 split. All of the literature will tell you that it's 80 or 90% women that get eating disorders. But that's because the literature is based on those who are diagnosed with eating disorders. And the issue here is the majority of men with eating disorders are not diagnosed with eating disorders. I've worked with loads of blokes with eating disorders, and I can think of one or two of them that have actually had a diagnosis. I wouldn't say that none of them had a diagnosis. I can think of a few, but the vast, vast, vast majority do not receive a diagnosis. And that's for a variety of reasons. Most of the time it's because they don't seek a diagnosis. And plenty of women don't seek a diagnosis either, believe me. But the majority of the time it's because their doctors, therapists, psychologists, whomever, are not looking for that. They do not give them that diagnosis because they're male. And it's like this big cycle. The reason that they don't give them that diagnosis is because the literature says that most people who have eating disorders are female. So it's like, that's why they don't get the diagnosis, but the literature says that because men aren't given the diagnosis. So it's just always with sort of therapy and all of the stigma and all of the stereotypes that mental health and particularly eating disorders are plagued with, it's always a self-perpetuating cycle as well. But anyway, let's not get into that. And so men are often not diagnosed, and a large part of the problem with that is because they are not represented in the literature. So therapists and doctors are not looking for men to have eating disorders. And it's so incredible how much our belief systems can stop us from seeing things that just seem to be so obvious if we can remove those belief systems. So a guy goes into his therapist office and he is displaying all the symptoms of a person with an eating disorder. He's got mental hunger. He's thinking about food the whole time. He has an exercise compulsion, or he's just very, very, very passionate about running. Maybe that's what that looks like. He's underweight. He's displays sort of OCD tendencies. And he's not going to get an eating disorder diagnosis. And all of that will be looked at as like, oh, this guy's just really into fitness. He's just really looking after himself. He's very passionate about looking after himself. That's fine. And if it was a woman going in with exactly the same symptoms, just a completely different appearance, then it's highly likely that that therapist would see the eating disorder. And so that's just a good lesson really in how our belief systems actually shape and filter what we see when we look at a person. And that's the reason I believe that men do not get diagnosed with eating disorders. I think a lot of the time the blame, shall we say, is put on the guys. Oh, they just don't go to the doctor as much, that kind of crap. I don't know that I believe that to be true. I actually think that men do go to the doctors as much. And I've worked with a load of blokes that have kind of silently been screaming for help for years before they have actually reached out and contacted someone like me. They've been going to the doctor. They've been complaining about their symptoms. They have been looking for help. It's not that they have been hiding away in their homes and their gyms and not actually sort of seeking any help or avoiding the doctors or anything like that. They've been going. They've just not been given what they sort of know that they need. And you know that eating disorders are complicated. We don't ask for help. We kind of know something's wrong with us. And we might skirt around asking for help. But a lot of people with eating disorders do not go waltzing into the doctors and say, I've got an eating disorder, can you help me? I actually know a few blokes that have done that and their doctors have told them, well, you don't have an eating disorder. So I don't put the blame on guys so much. I actually put the blame on the stereotypes of our medical system more. All right, so anyway, if you are a guy with an eating disorder, well, it's highly likely, honestly, if you're watching this YouTube channel, it's highly likely that you have an eating disorder. So if you're a guy watching this YouTube channel, probably, yeah, I don't, you know, like, you shouldn't diagnose people without ever having met them. But if you're watching my YouTube channel, I'm just going to say it's highly likely that you have an eating disorder. You've just got to advocate for yourself, like, a lot. Hard work, I know. And people with eating disorders, like, most of us don't want to advocate for ourselves. We're kind of like, yeah, can you help me recover maybe a little bit? You've got to go out there and you've got to slam it. I do have an eating disorder and you are going to help me to your doctor. I know it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. But it's just the reality. If you're watching this and you're not a guy, just keep that in mind. Don't make assumptions. Don't let the cultural beliefs and the medical beliefs and stereotypes and DSM-5 criteria actually stop you from seeing what's obvious in friends and family. A lot of the time, here's the thing, a lot of the time if a child has an eating disorder, because people now sort of know it's genetic, all eyes go to the mother. A lot of the time it's not the mother. Just saying. All right, bye.